I'm about to piss off every relationship coach with this video, because here's the truth. Marriage as we know it is in trouble in the US and Canada. Marriage rates are at record lows. Divorce rates are still high. And to make it worse, younger women aren't even shy about it anymore. They're openly saying marriage these days feels less like the dream we have all been sold, and more like a trap, or even worse, a prison. Think about that. The thing that was once the ultimate goal is now being compared to a prison sentence. If marriage was supposed to be the happily ever after, why then are so many women calling it a life sentence instead? Chapter 1. The fairy tale versus the reality. Picture this. A little girl growing up in the 90s or 2000s. Every cartoon she watches tells her that the story ends when the princess marries the prince. Her aunties keep asking her, "So when are you going to settle down?" She cuts wedding dresses out of magazines, imagining the big day. Fast forward to when she's 30. She's got the ring, the house, maybe even the kids. But instead of a dream, it feels like another job. She's exhausted from her 9 to 5. Then she comes home to unpaid housework, cooking, cleaning, and that invisible labor. Meanwhile, her husband thinks mowing the lawn once a week makes them even. It's a joke. And here's where psychology hits. This is called cognitive dissonance. It's the painful gap between what you were promised and what you got. Women are promised happiness, safety, and partnership. But what many of them get feels more like an endless to-do list. So, here's the real question. Was the dream ever real? Or was it just a marketing trick we all fell for? Chapter 2. The economics of marriage. Here's the dirty little secret nobody wants to say out loud. Marriage was never really about love. It was about survival. Let me explain. Go back to the 1950s. My grandmother used to tell me this. She couldn't even get a credit card without a husband. That's right. No husband, no loan, no financial independence. Back then, marriage was basically the ticket to security. You got a husband, you got a house, and hopefully, you got stability. But let's fast forward to today. Women are earning degrees at higher rates than men. In many cities, women under 30 actually make more money than their male peers. So, the script flips. Women don't need a man's wallet anymore. They can get their own credit card, their own apartment, their own life. Now here's the psychology. It's called loss aversion. Men who grew up believing marriage meant being the provider are scared of losing that traditional power. When women no longer need them for survival, the question shifts from "who will marry me" to "why should I marry you?" And here's the controversial truth. If marriage doesn't guarantee financial stability anymore, why would women sign up for love? Sure, but love doesn't pay rent, and it sure doesn't cover daycare. Chapter 3. The workload nobody talks about. Let's talk about Sarah. She's a corporate professional. She puts in 10 hours at work, fighting deadlines and office politics. She gets home, and instead of resting, she starts her second shift, cooking dinner, helping the kids with homework, cleaning up the mess, managing the family calendar. Meanwhile, her husband is on the couch saying, "Don't worry, babe, I'll help out later." But here's the twist. Studies show married women do 2 to 3 times more housework and emotional labor than men, even when both work full-time jobs. 2 jobs at work, 1 unpaid at home. That's the math women are living with. And psychology calls this the resentment cycle. When someone's invisible labor isn't noticed, it slowly kills connection. Every unwashed dish feels like a lack of respect. Every forgotten birthday party invite feels like they're carrying the relationship alone. And resentment is a slow poison for intimacy. So, when women say marriage feels like another full-time job, maybe they're not exaggerating. Maybe they're just finally done pretending that this unpaid work is normal. Chapter 4. Divorce. The wake-up call. Divorce doesn't just end marriages. It exposes what marriage really was. Think about Hannah. She spent 15 years in marriage. She gave up promotions to raise kids, managed the home, supported her husband's career. And when divorce finally came, she walked away financially vulnerable, while he rebuilt his life faster than she could even process what happened. Here's the psychology. It's called the sunk cost fallacy. It's that voice in your head that says, "I've already put in so much. So I can't leave now. Women stay longer than they should because they feel trapped by the years they've invested. But the truth is that that investment doesn't always pay out. Sometimes it's like pouring water into a bucket with a hole. So, if leaving costs this much and staying feels like a trap, you start to understand why so many women are asking why even get married in the first place. Chapter 5. The Rise of Independence. Now, let's flip the script. Picture a woman in her late 20s. Let's call her Monica. She's traveling, building her career, hanging out with friends, and living on her own terms. Someone asks her about marriage, and she laughs. Why would I get married when I can do all this without the drama? And Monica's not alone. The data shows that younger women, millennials and Gen Z, are marrying later and later, and some not marrying at all. And they are not even bothered. For the first time in history, women are saying, I'd rather have freedom than the altar. The psychology behind this is called autonomy bias. Once people experience real freedom, they're way less willing to trade it for dependence. And that's what marriage feels like to many women. It feels like a trade, and a bad one at that. For the first time in history, independence is winning over happily ever after. And that shift is shaking the foundations of what society used to call success. Chapter 6. The Psychology of Disillusionment. Here's a story you've probably heard before. A woman grows up believing marriage is the key to happiness. She dreams of passion, stability, and a partner who'll make life easier. She finally marries, expecting all of that. But instead, she finds herself lonelier than when she was single. This is where psychology comes in. Expectation versus reality. Gap. When expectations are sky high, the disappointment hits twice as hard. The myth of marriage raises the bar so high, it's almost impossible to meet. And social media doesn't help. We scroll through picture-perfect couples kissing in Santorini, smiling at luxury weddings, or doing date night goals on TikTok. But behind closed doors, those same couples are fighting over money, chores, and whose turn it is to pack the kids' lunch. So, if marriage feels lonelier than being single, no wonder more and more women are saying, no thanks. Chapter 7. What this says about men. Now here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because the truth is, the problem isn't just marriage. It's men who refuse to evolve with it. Let me give you one example. Let's say there is a pastor who preaches every Sunday about wives submitting to their husbands. Outwardly, he's holding up tradition. But secretly, he's struggling with infidelity, or doing so much to make it almost impossible for his wife to submit to him. The double standard is staggering. Psychology calls this status quo bias. People cling to old roles because those roles benefit them. And in marriage, a lot of men still expect the perks of the 1950s without bringing anything new to the table in 2025. And this creates a split. Some men adapt, grow, and thrive in equal partnerships. They double down, get angry, and create whole online movements, like the red pill culture, where resentment is sold as wisdom. So here's the truth. Marriage isn't dying because women changed. It's dying because men didn't. Chapter 8. So what's next? So if women are walking away, what happens to the institution of marriage itself? Let's be real. We're at a crossroads. And there are a few possibilities going forward. Possibility 1. Marriage evolves. It stops being about control and tradition and finally becomes about equal partnership. Two people building something side by side, not one person carrying the load while the other coasts. That version of marriage could survive. Possibility 2. Women start replacing marriage with alternatives. Cohabitation, single motherhood by choice, chosen families made of friends, siblings, and communities instead of contracts. And honestly, a lot of women are already doing this. So maybe it's not that women hate love. Maybe they're just done sacrificing themselves for an outdated contract that never paid out what it promised. So the real question is, will marriage catch up to women? Or will women simply leave it behind? Because one thing is clear. The old version of marriage? Women aren't buying it anymore. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think many women may just be done with marriage or not? Leave a like. Watch this video on the screen next. And see you in the next one.